Would you say that's the first step for these men? So when they come in there, they're all right. I had a weak father figure or no father figure. What do I do? How do I lead my son? Go work out with him is the first step. But do you think even before that is to probably get around other men, whether it's peers and like-minded people that could show them how to nut up and be a fucking man for once?
Hey gentlemen, welcome to the Modern Day Night Project show. This show is with myself and Steve Eckert, one of our lead instructors and co-founders of the Modern Day Night Project experience. And we really wanted to talk to men. We wanted to talk to men about all things men. This isn't about masculinity, red pill, blue pill nonsense. This is about how we can become better men to serve our families, to serve our communities, to find our mission and purpose in life, to have a tribe of brotherhood, to be able to have a legacy and to live a life where we feel fulfilled, right? And we conquer our 4 F-bombs that we have as our pillar at the project, which is faith, family, fitness, and finance. And when you have your faith, family, fitness, and finances dialed in, you have that 5th F-bomb, which is a sense of fulfillment, which is really what we're all looking for. And so today we're going to start off this show really talking about the 3 things that men need to overcome to achieve self-mastery. And self-mastery really is becoming your higher self, going from human animal to human being, going from pleasure-driven to purpose-driven, going from chasing desires to really chasing your duty. And so with that said, Steve, this was a great topic you came up with. It's a topic that comes up a lot during the project when we're putting these men through the 75-hour experience. Let's talk about thing number 1, the 3 things that men need to overcome to achieve self-mastery. What is it?
Well, the first way we even thought of this is every time when we send the camera crews away in the project, and we sit them down after they're beaten the fuck down, they're tired, they're hungry, they come in, their guard is up. And after 30, 40 hours, their guard is down. We have these deeper, meaningful conversations with them. And that's what this is about. This is what this show is about. Meaningful transformations for men and their family, fitness, finances, and faith. And we discover that when we go around the room, we talk about what's the worst thing that ever happened to them. And this is the stuff that no one sees. People just see the cool stuff, the ice baths and the beach. They don't see the real work of the project that we're doing. And this is when the real work happens.
In fact, I'd even say that if you boiled the project down, if you distill the 75 hours down, it's really that 4 hours of deep work we do around hour number 36 to 40, where toxic cognitions, which is that deep work, meaningful work,
which would be useless if we didn't. We'd have to beat them down first to bring that guard down. So then they're all of a sudden talking about things they 50% of them say, I've never spoken these words out loud before, and they're talking about a bunch of strangers who they met just a day and a half ago. And as we go around the room, we realize that more than 80%, at least 80%, always come down to the same. It falls into the same 3 categories, and usually all 3 of them, or all 3 in order, one leading to the next, leading to the third that we're going to talk about. And then the first one always comes down to, it starts off with daddy issues. You could say childhood issues, but most of the 80% of those childhood issues are daddy issues. Lack of a positive male role model.
Yep. Yeah. And in fact, when you think about it, when we talk about daddy issues, there's a great book out there by John Eldridge, Wild at Heart, and he says the hole that an absent dad can leave in a young man's heart is something that cannot be filled by anyone or anything other than another male that young man is going to look up to and get mentored by, right? And so the dad has a big responsibility. And so what are some of the dad issues that we've seen, or that maybe you've, like I know I've experienced, that you've experienced, that we can help overcome?
It's neglect in one way or the other is the same type of neglect. Like you talk about abuse, no matter what kind of abuse it is, the same triggers in the brain. Same thing with neglect. Whether it's neglect because the father just bounced, neglect because the father's building an empire. It's still, the kid is growing up with neglect. He's going to grow up with the same fucked up daddy issues for whatever reason, that there's neglect, that dad's not there. And 4 out of 10 kids are born into a single family home. And you can imagine most of those, probably 90%, not even 80%, are women. So now they're not having a father from the beginning. 4 out of 10 don't even have a father from the beginning. Think about that.
That's a high percentage.
That's fucking crazy. 40%. 40%. And rising into single family homes, which are all women. So they're growing up with a woman, being taught by a woman how to be a man, which I know people say, oh, independent, strong women, all this other stuff. It just can't fucking happen. A woman cannot teach a man how to be a man. They're doing what they can. They're trying to, but they're leading to these weaker, softer men that we're coming across. And it comes down to because they didn't have a daddy. That's a daddy issue. They were just raised by just the mother.
Well, that's exactly right. And so let's talk about that, whether it's the mom raising them or the TV raising them, in the absence of a strong father that's got core values, that God's character, that has a definitive path for his son. That young man's going to be raised by television, and television is obviously media, and big media is controlled by politicians, and politicians want to keep people dumb, docile, dependent, broke, because you're easier to manage if you're dumb, docile, and dependent and broke. And so when you think about it, and then when a mom who's like, hey, strong moms, I get it, man. Moms have the most amazing job on the planet. You have to give birth. You are the source of life on this planet. But a mom who has estrogen and a young man who's starting to 11, 12 years old pump out testosterone, how can those two people relate? Like Tyson, your son, Andrew, my son, they need to roughhouse. They need to test themselves against the man, against dad, to see, do I have what it takes to take dad down? Do I have what it takes to outrun dad, to outlift dad? The dad is a measuring tool in so many ways. And in the absence of that, like you said, 4 out of 10 are not even there. But then let's start adding up those that are physically under the same roof.
Well,
like you
first,
said,
let's leave 6 out of 10, right? Out of the 4 to 10. 6 out of 10. If there's a 51% divorce rate, 90% of those are going with the mother. So now you take another 3 out of those remaining 6.
Yep.
Now you're talking about 7 out of 10 that are with just mother. That leaves 3 out of 10 with the two parents. 80% of those dads and those two parents are still absent. So they're left to 1 out of 10 that might have a chance of having a positive male role. Now, it's fucking crazy when you break down numbers.
You nailed it, because those dads, those 3 dads who are home, the 3 out of 10 who are home under the same roof, whether, like you said, whether they're building an empire, whether they're emotionally absent, whether they're drunk and high, they're so stressed and worried about money, whatever the source is, they mean to be there for their sons. They want to be there for their sons, but they're not. Their sons grow up neglected. And so you've got 1 dad out of every 10 who's able to pour into his son. And when you now reverse engineer the math and look at the last decade, I'm not surprised why young boys are lost in their gender identity. They are effeminized. They are overly bubble wrapped and metaphorically bubble wrapped. Their training wheels have been left on too long. They are emotionally unstable because they haven't been taught to manage their emotions, to stay disciplined, what stoicism is. Because that one dad can only influence that one son or those couple sons, and he's not going to be able to influence the other 9. And so those daddy issues. And so at the project, when we're working with these guys that have come from daddy issues, what is some of the best advice that you've seen given out to them as we help them through?
Is to make the decision, like decide to be the one that breaks the cycle. We talk about it all the time, breaking the cycle. And because out of those dads that are remaining, majority of those, if you break down the numbers, you have to reverse engineer it. That means that 80% of those dads came from a single family mother themselves. So that they're just a soft dad that was brought up as a feminine man, and they're just not the kind of dad they need to be anyway. They're not, it's even less than 1 out of 10, I think. It's fucking nuts. Yeah. So it's really decide to be the one. All right, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the stubborn one in the family that's going to break the cycle, and we're going in a different direction from this point. I'm going to put in the work. And that's what the problem is. Most people don't want to put in the fucking work. I'm not saying it's easy. None of this shit is easy. We're not saying this is fucking easy. But they don't want to put in the fucking work to do it because it's hard. It's easy just to stay soft, stay comfortable, stay fucking feminine, because that's what you said. Like, media is telling you, media's not only making them that way, media's making them feminine. Right. It's all geared towards that. School is making them feminine. They have to have the manners and please and raise their hand and stop talking and don't play.
You can't call. There was a woman, I just saw it on the Hodge Twins show. There was a young girl in college. She's like 19, 20 years old. She's writing an essay in class on transgender males who become women playing sports and women's sports. And so she uses in her essay the term biological female. And the professor gave her a 0. And she went on to TikTok and social media to talk about this. And she didn't put the professor's name out or the school's name out, but she said she got a 0. When she asked her professor via email, she said, you used the term biological female, and therefore that is a term that doesn't get used on this campus. It's a no-no word, like that list of no-no words.
Stanford list,
yeah, right? And so they've done such a good job at confusing genders, but let's not go down that rabbit hole. So once we know that you're going to be the one, and this is what we talk about the project, like you've got to be the one. You've got to be the one to decide this habitual process or this cycle in my family is not going to repeat. It stops with me. Then we always tell these men, so then what do? Well, if you want to learn how to turn a wrench, there's like literally classes for that. Like, don't just go watch YouTube, because I believe being in the influence within close proximity of a man who's doing so, if you want to be jacked, go hire a male personal trainer who's jacked and develop that trait. If you want to learn to be a gunslinger, a gunfighter, there's plenty of gun training schools with like these alpha male dudes who are seasoned war fighters who are teaching this stuff. If you want, I just had on the Bedros Keuilian show, I just had Pastor Michael Butler, priest, Father Michael Butler on my show. And he said, look, man, I'm not saying everyone should be religious, but if you're looking to find, a male figure that's a strong figure that has core values, maybe go find a good preacher who knows how to build an audience, who knows how to share core values. You don't have to buy into the religion, but you can tap into that thing that he has and that thing that he has. And like, if you don't have discipline, I might go and hang out with Steve Eckert and his family, because I'm going to learn life structure and discipline from that man, and he's going to be a good role model. So, and one thing we talk about at the project is the dad who you were born from, maybe he wasn't a real dad or a father. He was just a sperm donor.
Love that term, sperm
right?
donor. I've used it so many times. Yeah,
right.
It's so fitting, perfect.
Yeah, and if he's a sperm donor, that means you could be a dad figure. I could be a dad figure, and someone could be a dad figure for me. And Jim Franco, in fact, was my rich dad. And Leighton, right there behind the camera, calls me his rich dad. And so in the absence of having someone not available in your life, you can go find them and be in proximity and have 5, 6, 7 dad figures that can really make you whole again and, kind of fulfill that need in your heart.
Would you say that's the first step for these men? So when they come in there, they're all right. I had a weak father figure or no father figure. Yeah. What do I do? How do I lead my son? We could tell them, I think it's go work out with him is the first step. But do you think even before that is to probably get around other men to teach you, reteach you, or teach you for the first time how to be a fucking man, like the kind of shit you should do? Because how can he teach the son the shit he doesn't even already know? So he has to go and put in that work and be around men like that, whether it's father figures or just peers and like-minded people that could show him how to nut up and be a fucking man for once.
And dude, when I think about the years that we've known each other, I don't know, going on probably close to 10 years, I would say, I've learned so much from you. You've learned so much from me. We've learned in different categories of life. And then when we have our other instructors who have come through, and I've learned so much from those instructors, and I learned from the candidates going through the project. And as they graduate, I see how they run their life. And I'm always looking at other men, because I realized while I did have my dad in my life, he was emotionally absent. He was building, trying to build a business, put roof over our head, food in our stomach. I get it. But I was smart enough to know that I need to go and reach out and connect to other men to get what I need, because I felt of something's missing. And I think when men feel that today, they feel like, I don't want to inconvenience anyone. I don't want to be a bother. I don't want to admit that I need another guy in my life. We're tribal. We're meant to be a tribe. Like, no one man can survive alone. Like, you look at the caveman days, it took like a group of cavemen to bring down the saber-toothed tiger so they could all eat. One guy with a spear is going to get destroyed by the saber-toothed tiger. So step one, that's the foundation. Like, find men, peers, dad figures, role models, mentors who you are within close proximity. Maybe a jiu-jitsu coach, a lifting coach. Go find a dude that you can lift with, and you might not be like impressed with how he is around his wife, so he may not be a good husband example, but he might be a good example of like discipline in the gym. Mm-hmm. Just take that piece, right? And oftentimes you take that one piece from him, you take that one piece from him, you take that one piece from him, and you fill that hole in your heart, and you've now become a fulfilled human, and now you can lead your son better. You can lead your family better. You can lead your business and community better. So that is, I think, where it starts.
And I think there was something, what you just said there, we were talking about it off camera a little bit before we started, was about the 3 things men learn. What do men learn too late? We were talking about. And I think that's one of them. They think that, like you said, you can't take down the saber-tooth tiger by yourself with one spear. So they go too far on either end of the spectrum, too extreme. They either think, all right, I'm going to suffer in silence and not tell anyone and do it all myself because I'm don't need to be dependent on anyone else. Yep. Or they go to the other extreme and they become totally dependent and approval seeking. They need to find that balance of in between dependency and the lone wolf. Because then they also think, I don't want to be dependent on anyone else. I should be able to be a man, should do it on my own. No fucking man can do it. Go try to make a baby on your own, see how that works. Go try to build a fucking empire on your own, see how that shit works. It's not going to work. You're not going to kill the fucking saber-tooth tiger. But you're also can't just rely on everyone to go kill a saber-tooth tiger for you, or I don't know, go rely on someone else to go make your baby for you. It probably happen if you're acting like a little bitch.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that's probably why that also happens, but that's a whole conversation. So what's the second thing that we have on our list that once men figure out that, all right, I need to be around other men that I can learn from, get that fulfillment from, and have that hole in my heart fixed? What's the next step?
So I think it's a progression. So it starts with those daddy issues.
Fix your daddy issues.
And that leads to then the drug and alcohol. And alcohol, because if you also look at another part of the project we do, the bitch to beast, and I asked them to picture the worst version of themselves. What was the lowest version of themselves, and actually think of a picture, and we create that avatar of that bitch version of them. It's always including alcohol, drugs. Almost always there's even alcohol in the picture. I have them think of an actual photo that they know of. There's always alcohol involved. A lot of times it has to do with, or it's a childhood thing where they were just in a miserable thing with their family, with the daddy issue. So but it leads to alcohol, drugs, and that leads to all kinds of other problems that you can imagine. But it starts with overcoming that first vice of drugs and alcohol. That's the gateway to what we'll talk about next, which is the third piece. But there's no place for fucking alcohol. There's no upside to alcohol. There's no benefit to alcohol. If you need alcohol to have a conversation with someone, to meet women, to be friendly, to have fun at a party, you got a lot bigger fucking issues than alcohol. You're a fucking loser. Like, you're a fucking loser. Like, you need alcohol to go meet a woman, so now you're gonna have to get drunk every day to be around her and be that same person.
Literally, you have to poison yourself every day, alter your true state, so that you can go meet someone.
To show a different version. To show a different version of you. Or you at your stupidest, or at your silliest, or... It makes no fucking sense. If you need that, you need to reevaluate and go back to the fucking beginning.
And I get it. Just because it's legal, because people go, well, it's legal, it's okay. Like, look who makes it legal. The jab was legal. The jab was, in fact, funded with our tax dollars and then profited by, Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, Moderna. Everything that's legal does not mean, like, fen-phen. You're old enough, I'm old enough to remember that drug, fen-phen. We're in the fitness industry, that's where we come from. Fen-phen was two different drugs, like whatever the first fen stood for and the second fen, but it was a legal drug for weight loss. They later found out women were falling over dead, man. It was basically like amphetamines on steroids. Well, it was legal. That doesn't mean that it's good for you. And alcohol being legal just means that they are lobbying the politicians in a way that, again, it keeps you numb, it keeps you dumb. It keeps you dependent. You're in an altered state. You're escaping reality. You're not showing the true, authentic version of yourself. Guess what? And it is harder to learn charisma, to learn how to make eye contact and communicate and maybe have an icebreaker and an opener to when you walk up to a woman. I'd rather learn those skills, do the hard thing once and learn those skills than constantly alter my state and poison my body. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, I'm talking vaping, counts into all this, because any kind of vice that has a control over you, ultimately you become a slave to, and you're not your authentic self. So that's the second thing on top of fix the daddy issues and decide you're going to be the one to change the trajectory of the generation to come. Kick the alcohol, drugs, vices. And then, of course, this is the magical one, the third step, which is pussy. Right.
The women, which in one way or the other, either the daddy issues and the alcohol and drugs leads to making poor decisions, making wrong decisions, having too many baby mama dramas out there, or the woman you do have, you're not taking care of the right way, or making poor decisions, they're going out and cheating, doing stupid shit, or even if they're not cheating, just the drugs, alcohol, the daddy issues leads to a shitty relationship in the home. And the kids then see that. People say, well, my kids are my top priority. And I don't think that's even the way it should be. I think it should be that the spouse should be the top priority, because you're showing the kids, all right, this is how you act. This is how you act like a fucking man. This is how you live. I also think, going back to what we were saying earlier, I think a man is more capable of being a single parent than a woman, which sounds fucking crazy and off the wall.
Tell me that
I think
logic.
that is 100, because men are always going to be a little more rational. Women are going to be a little more emotional.
Sure.
And I could teach a boy how to be a man. A girl is going to see the ideal of what a man should be, so she's learning what the ideal of a man should be, and my son is learning how to be a man. If they're both with just the mother, sure, the girl can learn how to be a woman, but how to be a woman, the strong, independent woman that doesn't have that man. The son is not learning how to be a man from the mother. So if you put them both together and gave it a score, I see a man as being a better single parent than a father. And that might fucking piss some people off and say, oh, you're wrong because I'm a woman and I raised men. And of course there are. Of course it's happened. Of course they've made some awesome. Yeah. But I think
there's always outliers in every scenario. But the reality is,
it came down to like a scientific formula about which one would lead to, I 100% believe a man would be a better single parent than a woman.
And I know what you're saying, and so let me just say it, like a man who's actually evolved and has developed himself.
That 1% of the 1% that we were talking about. I said is capable of. Are they actually doing it? Right. That's another fucking story.
Right, exactly. A man who has evolved, who has mastered self-mastery, who has become the higher version of himself. And I believe you're not wrong on that. And guys, let us know in the comments section below. And if you've seen that happen, give us an example of it, because I do believe that a stoic man who has done a lot of self-mastery can raise both genders, all things being equal, in a better fashion because of the absence of emotion. And there is a man does know how to show emotion, like, and you know, again, at the project, like, you don't give hugs. You don't give hugs to most people. But I've seen how your kids just like glue themselves onto you and how you love them up. And so it's not to say that, well, you know, a tough, strong man can't show emotion. They can. Like, here's a dude right here who, you know, if you try and shake Steve's hand and pull him in for a hug, he's pulling his way out of it. That's just how he rolls, and that's great. But he also knows how to show the soft side of him to his kids and the people that
Don't call me soft again.
Yeah. We should know. Yeah, he's about to flip the tables. I would say flip the table like you do at the project. But so all that said, guys, when you begin to develop this mindset that it all starts and stops with me, I'm not going to repeat the cycle, and then I'm going to do something about it, fix your daddy issues, and then overcome your drug, alcohol dependencies and your vice dependencies.
I know you stopped drinking too, right? I did. I want to hold you. I'm going to hold you accountable for that right here on camera. You're still good with it?
Well, sober. I've always been sober. I was just a social drinker.
Same as me.
No. Except for that one time. But yeah, November 12th of 2022, I stopped drinking. That was the day, and that night I had 3 drinks, and I had indigestion, falling asleep. The next morning when I woke up, foggy headed. Look, man, I'm 48 and maybe 3 cocktails. It wasn't even like straight shots. It was like 3 cocktails with a big meal. We went to the Addison. Like my body, 1 or 2 cocktails, I can't process it anymore. So I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? I had it because it's a social...
Especially as you get older, there's absolutely fucking nothing for you. Yeah, it's been 5 or 6 years for me. I don't know how long. I don't even know the date, but over 5 or 6 years.
So I've stopped, and it's nothing that I plan on continuing. And in fact, it was like 2 weeks after that, I was like, you know what? And I used to occasionally eat like a gummy bear or smoke a joint here and there. I stopped that too, like a week or 2 after. And so what's it been? It's not 6 months.
I've never smoked weed, not even once in my life. Never done anything more than alcohol. Imagine if I was coked up, what it would be like. It might calm me down. I might try it just to calm myself down.
I was gonna say,
it's like Ambien. My version of Ambien would be cocaine.
I might put mushrooms or acid in your food when you're not looking at the next project class.
Don't do it.
That'd be great to see what happens to you. What if you just become like this full-on civil, like lighthearted, polite guy? Fucks up the whole class.
Requesting that they go outside and line up.
Yes. And please go line up. Yeah, please and thank yous. Anything else to add to this episode?
Just I think all that leads to women that, like men that are in a certain area, then their women say, oh, I like them just the way they are. They're fucking lying to you. They don't like you the way they are. You still have those daddy issues. You still have the drug and alcohol issues. You still have the woman issues, the way you're treating the woman, or the way you're doing stupid fucking decisions. They don't like you the way you fucking are because their wife is not looking for a second son. They're looking for a man, a husband, a fucking leader of the family, of the house, of the life. That's what they're looking for.
Yeah. So guys, listen, on this show, the Modern Day Night Project show, you're going to get the truth. And what we're really giving you a peek into is how men really speak to each other at the project, and how men who are tight with each other, who truly see each other as a brotherhood, as peers, and have each other's back. This is how we speak. This is how you want to speak. And I know you feel like you can't speak this way. This is how we communicate, connect at the project. We call each other out when we need to. We back each other up when we have to. And we have massive respect for one another, but we will always lean to calling one another out. And if you're not doing that, you're doing your friends, your peers, your brothers a disservice. And so with that said, let us know what you think in the comments below. Not that we really care what you think. I'm going to be honest with you, because it's freedom of speech, it's freedom of expression, but you may want to take this advice and pass it along to someone else, because I believe also, Steve, we have a duty to be that pebble that falls in the lake and creates the ripple effect, that role model effect, right? Like once you have mastered yourself, once you realize, man, all right, I have daddy issues and I'm going to work on them. And then, you know what? I have these issues with drugs and alcohol. I'm going to work on them. I have this issue of chasing tail or pornography, or I have 10 OnlyFans accounts, or I treat my wife or my girlfriend like shit, and she pretty much treats me like a mom, like she's my mom, and I kind of enjoy that because I miss my mom. Like, that's not a fucking man. Like, I don't respect you. I don't want to hang out with you. You fix those things, and when you do, you don't just keep that a secret. You pass it along. So I want to let you know that I appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys watching this episode. We want you to share it. We want you to leave comments down below, and stay tuned for the next episode that's coming. And check the description box down below. If you want to join us for an upcoming project class, you're going to want to check the description. The project class is really something that's life-changing. It's not just a 75-hour experience that you go through. It is when you graduate, the 12 months of coaching, business mastery, brotherhood, and hangouts that we all get to do together in this brotherhood that we've created, that you're going to get a ton of value from. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.